Hello there. So Chapter 9, supporting mobile devices. Now we're going to discuss security. So we're going to go into the security aspect of the mobile devices. There's different ways. Obviously on our phone we can have different lock screens or different methods to lock. And really there's different theories on what is the most secure for all of them. A screen lock, just a general screen lock is not very secure. Swipe lock. A pattern lock, most people choose the exact same pattern and passcode. So we can have all of these different ways to lock. And the face lock, my brother's like, my brother got a new iPhone and he said, oh, I have the face lock, you can't unlock my phone. And all I did was hit the button and then just brush it by his face and I had it unlocked. And he about died. So it just cracked me up. Fingerprint lock, they're not saying that those are too terribly secure, but if you have a PIN number and you have a pretty long one, that can be pretty secure. So it just depends on how you feel and what kind of information is on your phone. If you don't want anybody to unlock it, if you have any kind of banking information on there, you should have some sort of security on your phone. So here's the access controls, iPhone versus Android, so you can see both of them. And you can have smart lock set up. Oh, I'm sorry, not both of them. This is all on the Android. And you can have smart lock set up to keep the screen unlocked. I don't ever do that because I don't care. I actually use the fingerprint. So I have the fingerprint unlock and it just unlocks very quickly. The screen lock options, so you can have restricted fail and login attempts. So for me, if my hands are wet or if I'm cooking or something, or I don't know, my phone, if my hands are really super cold, that is the other one, I can't unlock my phone with my fingerprint. So I have to end up going into my PIN pad and put my PIN number in. And so you can have it set to a certain number of failed logon attempts, and then it will block further attempts. You can have full encryption on your phone, and then you can have multi-factor authentication. And honestly, on my accounts for email and different things like that, I do have multi-factor authentication. I do have it set up to go to my phone for multi-factor. Software, so now security of the software itself. So we kind of talk about security of the phone and then security of accounts. But now we have software security. Oops, sorry. Obviously, you want to keep your software up to date and all the patches and updates current. You can have antivirus and anti-malware software on there. I use what's called Malwarebytes. We'll talk about that in a second. You want to make sure that everything comes from trusted sources. You can put a firewall on there. I talked about a VPN. We'll talk about that in a little bit again. And then Android and iOS both have applications that can locate the device and wipe it remotely too, if you have it set up. The thing is most of these you need it set up. So here is the software security. So this is from the Play Store and the different apps that you can choose. And you can have like NetGuard on here to set up, install unknown apps. So you can set it so that your apps don't just automatically install things, and you can choose which ones can access the internet and which ones can't. So you can set your privacy settings pretty nicely. Here is Find My Device for Google, and you can see how where it's at. And you can have that set up. One of my friends has I think it's third-party software where they can keep track. She can keep track of all her kids, and I can't even imagine when I was in high school, I was just laughing at her because I'm like, when you're in high school, if your dad had that, we'd be in trouble. And so, you can actually keep track of everybody this way. Bring your own device. So we're kind of moving on to a different. Bring your own device kind of in a corporate environment or in a different environment that can bring its own issues. So everybody can bring their own device and attach to that network. If you know, like some networks aren't very good, so you don't really want to get to it because you can't attach to their Wi-Fi or connect to their Wi-Fi very well. So you want to make sure that you have protections in place when you go to, especially if you're at like Panera or Starbucks or somewhere with open Wi-Fi, you want to make sure that you protect yourself. You can use security profiles, so you can restrict access to. And so the organization that offers the Wi-Fi might actually restrict that access before allowing you to get to the network. If your device is attached to a network, I would totally recommend a VPN, like a third-party VPN, like NordVPN, or I can't remember. Is Dashlane? I think they only have, you know, there's many different VPNs out there, and you can search for 2020 best VPNs and see what comes up. Common mobile device malware. So these are some things that might happen if you're having issues on your phone. So, you know, say your power goes very, very quickly. Your phone seems to be really slow. It's using a lot of resources. You might get drop calls. So there's different, you know, if your phone is doing things that you're like, I don't know what's going on, you might have malware on it. So generally, you know what I use? I use Malwarebytes on my Android phone. That's what I use. Some people would say don't use iOS phones, but eventually, you know, everybody's going to be attacking everything, right? So you just want to make sure that you keep your phone safe. Don't download just anything. Don't look at horrible things on your phone. And so the first thing you'll want to do is if you have an app that you know that you just installed that is causing you problems, uninstall that app. Then update your OS if you can. If all else fails, you can do a factory reset and start over. I don't like to do the factory reset, so I wanna do everything I can before I do the factory reset. So just another couple things to keep in mind. Always keep everything up to date. My husband will hand me his phone and go, I can't do this. And I'm like, that's because you didn't do an update. So then I have to, not have to, but then I perform the update for him and hand him back his phone. So you want to make sure that, again, everything's up to date. Set your privacy settings and accordingly, and don't just open up any email attachment or any file. I know a lot of people get texts and stuff from their friends and that might have these attachments to look at, and you just want to think about opening things up and looking at things and how that might affect your phone, or even, you know, I mean, it's the same as if you open an email on your computer. And then, again, the last one is considering an anti-malware app. I do use Malwarebytes on my phone. I really like it. It works great. I'm pretty happy with it. So I do have an Android device, so you keep that in mind too. So that is securing your mobile device. And the final bit here is on Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things is just basically anything that's connected to the Internet. So IoT is what we call it. And it can be many, many, many different things. So generally they're plugged in via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. So, you know, if you have, some people have TVs, some people have, I know somebody has a crock pot that is connected to their wireless refrigerators. So there's many, many different things. I have Raspberry Pi devices, streaming devices that are connected to the Wi-Fi that could be considered Internet of Things too. So we have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, but not only do we have that, but we have Z-Wave and Zigbee. So there are two other wireless technologies that are used by, you know, the smart light bulbs, some of these IoT devices, smart locks. There's an app. It wasn't a smart light bulb, it was a smart plug-in that I did for my grandma, because she wanted to say, okay, it wasn't Google, it was, it was Amazon. So she wanted to be able to turn her nightlight on and off just by talking to it. So we set that up so that she could do that. And there's just different facts here about Z-Wave and Zigbee. So Z-Wave is a 900 megahertz band, and it's just a little bit less powerful than Wi-Fi, while Zigbee is 2.4 gigahertz, or it can also be 900, and it reaches a range of about 20 meters inside. Z-Wave and Zigbee are not compatible, and it's just a little mesh network that can be created. The other thing that you might see in IoT is RFID, radio frequency identification. So those are some different things that you might see. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go on to setting up a smart home. Some of you probably have already done this. You might have devices that you hook up. The biggest thing is security cameras. So we've got security cameras. You may have door locks, doorbells, the Ring security doorbell, refrigerators, TVs, all of that good stuff. So we might have it all set up in your Wi-Fi home, and everything is controlled over the internet. Even that simple plug-in for my grandma was set up over the internet. I had an app on her phone that I set everything up on. So here's just kind of an example. We have everything hooked up at our house. It has to go through our router to come back to our phone with internet access. So we can go and program it anywhere. I think they have that one, I don't know, there's a commercial online where the family turns off the lights and everything from their vacation spot. So they made sure that all the lights and everything were off at their house. And you can control the Wi-Fi with your thermostat. And for a while, Comcast was offering a discount on Wi-Fi connected thermostats. So you can have smart speakers, you've got Alexa, and you've got your Amazon and Google and Apple devices that you can set up. I have a Google Home that we received, and I hardly ever have it plugged in. I always have it unplugged. I had an Amazon Echo, and I got for free, and I ended up giving it to a student. I just don't use the voice-activated stuff as much as I thought I would. I use it mainly in my car. There is a controller hub or a smart hub that you can use as well. Here is the Google Home speaker. I have the bigger one that has a screen on it. It's actually really nice, and it sounds really nice too. So they're really handy, and you can ask it to change songs or whatever. And that's mainly what I use it for, but you can do it for so many other things as well. And then finally, troubleshooting. So we went from setting up IoT devices down to troubleshooting mobile devices. So we just have a few things left on this. It's troubleshooting mobile device. They're really mobile devices. You can't really replace too many things on them. There is a place in Cherry Valley, over by Cherry Valley Mall, by Menards, I believe, that will replace screens and all sorts of things like that on your iPhone or your cell phone, whether it's Android or iOS. And they do a really good job, and they don't really charge very much. So there are some places that you can go and get that taken care of. But sometimes those screens cost way more than necessary. So generally, most of the troubleshooting that you're going to do has to do with the operating system. It's not going to have to do with anything replacing hardware on it. It's mainly software. So really, the first thing you want to do is, if you have a problem, reinstall, or I always uninstall it, and then sometimes I reinstall the app. If I hate the app, I don't reinstall it. The other thing is restart the device. I always try and restart my phone once a week at least. So I just restart it once a week. Sometimes I do a hard boot, but usually I just do a regular soft boot restart, and it's fine. Always keep everything up to date. Always. And you can reset it to the factory state if you really wanted to. And any of these steps, I just search for whatever my phone is. So I would say I would search for the Pixel 3 factory restart or factory reset. So that's how I would do it. So it just kind of tells you here, press and hold the power button for restarting. That's our soft boot. So press and hold that button, and then you hit the power off message. So you just slide it over. If you want to do the hard reboot, you just hold it until it shuts down. For iPhone, you're going to use the volume button and the side button until the Apple logo appears. So, and in this one for iPhone, I always definitely have to search for the directions on it. And then to update, repair, and restore, you always want to back up everything first. So make sure your contacts and any pictures are backed up, and then update your OS, depending on whether it's iOS or Android. To repair, you can actually boot into safe mode and restore your backup in repair and restore. You can do that as well. And the same thing for iOS. You can reset all the iOS settings, restore, and reinstall. So I would say you just want to make sure that you have the most current up-to-date directions, and you would just go in and search for that online and see what the most current up-to-date is. And then this is just a reboot. Do you want to reboot to safe mode? Okay, and then it'll reboot into safe mode. You can troubleshoot. So if you go under General, there's all different options here. And this is on the iPhone. We have erase all settings, reset the network settings, or reset our keyboard. So we have reset of different things. On the Android device, some of my main problems have been keyboards I've installed that I thought I needed and I didn't really need. You can actually use recovery mode where you plug into a computer to reinstall the OS. So you do a factory reset. Oh, I hate these factory resets. It just makes me cringe. But you can do a factory reset where you back up all the data and then try and just boot from factory settings. So you've got a couple of different options. Factory reset from settings, factory reset from hard boot, factory reset and restore from iTunes. So obviously this one's Android only and this one's iOS. And then here's some common troubleshooting. So if you have a short battery life, just make sure you close the apps that you're not using. You might be able to find a replaceable battery, but really batteries aren't as replaceable as they used to be. Your touch might have some problems. I know whenever we have problems in our house, it's usually with that protective cover. I actually started using that glass sticky cover instead of the cover on the case because it sticks better and it's much more responsive. And then the other thing you might want to check is in settings, your accessibility. Touchscreen not responsive, clean it, keep it clean. When my hands are wet or cold, sometimes I can't use it. My grandma always has issues and she almost always has to use a stylus because just her fingers just don't want to, well, the device doesn't like her fingers, I guess I should say. And then whenever you have an issue, the first thing I always do is restart the device. So, and if there's any third-party apps that you had installed, you always want to check and see if those are causing problems. If you have no sound, just make sure that it's not connected to a Bluetooth device or that the volume was down all the way. You can adjust your brightness. I have mine set where it dims depending on the time of day. So in the morning, when the sun comes up, it brightens up, and then at night, when the sun goes down, it adjusts down. And then if you have any Bluetooth connectivity issues, make sure you don't have any devices that are connected that you don't know about. Same for Wi-Fi. You always want to make sure your wireless router is working. I have an issue on my wireless router where I have two of them that are connected via a long distance because I live on a farm and I connected my husband's shop. And sometimes the shop router gives out weird IP addresses, and I haven't had a chance to, I haven't taken the time to sit down and fix it. So sometimes you want to make sure that you might want to disconnect and reconnect the correct network. And then some other things that you might want to try is updating that device firmware. Other common problems, you might want to make sure that your location services is on or in your settings, because that might be an issue. You can't decrypt your email. You might have an issue with your encryption. You might need a new public key or private key depending on that. This one, you would, if you have it encrypted, you would know what you need to do. Apps not loading, you might have too much stuff on your phone, so you want to double check that. And you can actually have download an app to help clean up and monitor your apps and your storage. Maybe there's some logon errors. Maybe you can download an app to check that out. But if you don't have any space, you want to probably move some things off first. Usually insufficient space means you're saving your pictures to your phone or videos to your phone. So you want to double check that as well. Common problems, here's some different settings so we can manage our location services and we can fine tune locations. So we've got those in here. And then the final thing, if you have a frozen system, your battery might be low, you might want to charge your battery. If I have a frozen system, I'm doing a hard boot. I'm going to shut it down, I'm going to plug it into power, and I'm going to wait for it to boot back up finally. System lockout, obviously you're going to have to wait for the countdown. If you have children and they mess with your phone or any of that, you know that they're going to hit the lockdown. So if you have a passcode or screen swipe that's not working, you can actually enter your account password. Or also for Android and iOS, you can have, if your fingerprint is not working, you can switch to the passcode. Overheating, sometimes I have that problem when it's plugged in for too long. So, or if it's in direct sunlight, or some people have their phones set up in their car right next to a vent. It clicks into a system that's right next to their vent, and you just want to make sure that you do not have the heat on your phone for too long. So you just want to make sure that your phone is cool and that it's running nicely. So these are all just different ways of fixing problems on your phone. And that is it for Chapter 9. If you have any questions, you can always send me a message at s.washer@rockvalleycollege.edu.